Hi friends, this is the writing lesson for second grade. Today we are going to take our graphic organizer from last week and turn it into a story. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have a lined piece of paper. If it has holes, the holes go on the left-hand side and the big space goes at the top. That's where you're going to write your title. Next, you will put your name in the upper right-hand corner. It's always important to put your name on your papers. And then if you would like, you can go ahead and give it a title. I'm just going to call mine The Pirates of the Caribbean. A lot of times you can use what you wrote in your topic for your title. And when you write your title, you need to make sure that all of the important words are capitalized. So Pirates and Caribbean are the important words and of the not as important, so those are not capitalized. We are actually going to do this story in three chunks. So we're going to have an introduction that includes our hook and our topic sentence. We're going to have a middle section that includes our details, and then a closing section that will have our closing sentence and how did we feel sentence. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to start with my hook. Now, you should have written out your hook as a full sentence, and in this case, we all did a question. I'm going to skip this first line right here. I'm going to take my two fingers so I can indent. Remember, we always indent the first word of every paragraph. So there's my indent. I'm going to write out my hook. Now, when I run out of room, I actually have a little bit more room right here. And when I get to the end of the line, I'm going to skip a line. And if you want to draw little X's right here, that way you don't forget to skip lines, you can do that. And then you're going to go all the way back to the red line to finish your sentence. So on the, now I know some of you did a ride like me, so make sure when you do that ride that you capitalize it every time you write it. Okay, so there's my first sentence, and that's my hook. Now I'm going to write my topic sentence also in this first introduction paragraph. Now remember, your topic sentence, I listened to most of them, or I listened to all of them. They all should be ready to be written. You are telling when you did it, what you did, where you were potentially, and who you were with. So I'm going to do a little space right after my question mark, and then I'm going to continue writing. I'm going to go back to that red line every time I go to a new line. All right, so I fast forwarded a little bit, and now I finished my topic sentence. I ended with my period. Now, like I said, this is going to be the introduction to your story. If you would like to pause the video and write this, you may, and then come back for your next part. I'm going to keep going. So again, if you need to pause, go ahead. Now, when we write the next part, we didn't really write any sentences, right? And if you look at mine, it just kind of says like what I want to talk about. It was a normal ride, and then the boat went underwater, and we saw mermaids, sharks, octopus, and Davy Jones, and the boat goes back to the surface, and we were in the middle of a cannon battle. We got splashed with water, and then we see Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones fighting, and the boat travels backwards in the dark, and then we are back at the dock. So I can't just copy this like I was able to copy these two sentences. I have to decide, How am I going to put this information into a story so people can understand it? Remember, you were the one there. I wasn't there. Your friends weren't there. They want to be able to see what did you do that you are writing about. They want to be able to understand it. So you're going to want to use time order words like first, next, then, after that, finally, in the end, at the beginning, all of a sudden, or suddenly. Okay, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how I take my details and put them into a story. So I'm going to focus on my first detail. I said it was a normal ride. Then the boat went underwater. And while we were underwater, we saw mermaids, sharks, an octopus, and Davy Jones. This is probably going to be 3 sentences, okay? One section of my detail, 3 sentences. So let's see how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start my first time order word. I'm going to start by saying when we got on the ride, because that was at the very beginning. So I'm not going to do it after my period. I'm going to take my 2 fingers. I'm going to go down to the next slide, and I'm going to start with my capital letter. So I'm going to start when we got on the ride. Now, after all of your time order words, you always have to put a comma that lets your reader take a breath. So when we got on the ride, everything seemed normal. Okay, there's one sentence. I have my time order phrase in this case. And now I'm going to say, then, out of nowhere, or I could say, suddenly, we went underwater. Okay, I'm going to say suddenly. I like that better because it kind of is like, so suddenly, comma, there's my time order word, our boat went underwater. Okay, so I'm still in this first detail. I did this part. It was a normal ride. The boat went underwater. I did that part. Now I'm going to talk about what we saw. So for my time order phrase here, I'm going to say, while we were underwater, because that's telling them, when did this happen? It was when we were underwater. So while we were underwater, comma, there's my time order phrase, we saw. Now, I put on here mermaids, sharks, an octopus, and Davy Jones. Now, I'm going to kind of add some extra details here. So we saw a giant octopus. It floated right by, comma, sharks, comma, creepy mermaids, and Davy Jones. Okay, so we saw all that stuff while we were under. So like I said, 3 sentences for this one detail, okay? Now I'm going to do my next part. So this next part talks about the boat gets sucked back up to the surface. We're in the middle of a cannon battle, and we get splashed with water. So again, probably 3 sentences, right? So next, or you can say then, that would have also worked. Actually, I'm going to change that to then. I like the way that sounds better. So then our boat gets sucked back to the surface and not only did we get sucked back to the surface, but we end up, and I'm going to turn my paper over, we are in the middle of a cannon battle. I'm going to put my little X's again to skip lines. Okay, and I also want to say that we got splashed from the water, from a cannon, like exploding in the water. So all of a sudden, comma, that's my time word or phrase, we got splashed with water from a cannon. Okay, that one didn't seem to take as long. It was a little bit shorter, but there's my second detail. Now, my third detail is about Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones battling it out. And then our boat travels backwards into the dark, and then we're back at the dock. So I think I'm going to say then again, or after that would work too. After that. Now, I don't want to just say Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones were battling. I'm going to say after that, we saw Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones battling each other. And I think we'll put a comma, but then, whoops, our boat started traveling backwards in the dark. Okay, so I got that Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones were battling, the boat travels backwards, and then we end up back at the dock. I'm going to use that finally time order word. So finally, our boat ends up, actually, I don't like ends up. I'm going to change that. Arrives back at the dock. Whew. All right, time order word of finally. All right, so that is the middle section where we talk about our details. Now, if you want to pause the video and go write your details and then come back, that is fine. We just have one more little section. We're going to end up doing another paragraph, so we're going to indent again. I am going to do my feeling sentence. I'm going to close it off. So I'm going to say this was the coolest, and I'm going to do all caps for this word to show some emphasis, ride that I have ever been on. And I'm going to put an exclamation point. I hope that I get to go back to Shanghai Disneyland again. And I'm going to end this with another exclamation. So when you are done, you're going to have 3 different sections of this story. Now, you might have a front and a back like me. You might even need a 3rd page, and that is totally fine. So you have your hook and your introduction. Then when you write your next section, that's called a new paragraph, you're going to go down to the next line. See how much space I left right here? You're going to go down to the next line. You're going to include all your details so your reader can feel like they are in the story with you or that they were there. And then you have your period. You're going to start your next section. You're going to close it out. Your feeling sentence, what you would want people to know, their last final things. Okay? So if you need help, you can log onto Zoom and I will help you. If you get stuck, that is totally fine. I am here. And then when you do totally finish, you are going to log on to Zoom and read your rough draft to me. All right, my loves, that is it for today. Great job. Happy writing. I'll see you later.